Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Mr. Renew, and we're here for a daily message today. So what's up, everybody? Man, when I be going, I feel like I be like dimensionally drifting off into a new world, bro, new everything. And then when I come back and be like, yes, I got a lot of stories to tell. So I'm sorry, it be taking so long for me to get back, but it's like when things happen, like when this full moon pops up, there's new things to address. So even if you plan on taking a regular route to work, man, sometimes, there be detours along the way. So I believe that these little segments, these pauses, they help me stay in that mindset that, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what I do, I have to always change. So it's better to start learning how to accept some of these changes. And then learn how to use some of those changes or potentials to help spark a change in yourself. So a lot of that comes down to I haven't been wanting to talk. Only thing I wanted to do for the last 4 days was smoke weed. That's it. And be out in nature. That's it. So I grounded myself. I went and I did a lot of smoking and a lot of grounding. But I didn't work a lot. So now with this new fresh week, I got the energy. I've cleared off some old karma, so now I'm in a position of creating new, and I have, and it's been in the form of sharing through communication. A lot of you guys might not know or care about this shit, but I like certain things in reality. It took me a long time to get back into liking things of the world after I started my journey, and college football is something that I love. And it's 100% different from what it used to be, but there are cool things happening right now that happen all over the place and in economics across the world. And it makes me mad and it makes me sad, but it makes me happy and it makes me excited that there are so many people in this world who got problems that they don't even realize they have. I realize I don't want to solve everybody's problems, and it helps me talk to people in a way that I see fit, opposed to in a way that makes me feel like I need to. I don't need to pretend. I don't need to behave in a certain way. I know that I can confidently say something, and I can bet on the fact that most people won't neutralize my statement first. They'll instantly turn it around and try to make it the opposite, and it's not the case. If you don't understand what I'm saying, ask a question. Don't argue and say I'm wrong. Don't argue and say, what does this have to do with anything, when I just finished explaining everything it has to do with it. The comprehension or the ability to put things together is lacking. So the point of me delivering this message for you is to show you that life will change. And if you can't notice what things are evolving, then you won't be able to notice which things are deteriorating. Then you won't realize what things are becoming brand new versus which things are becoming recycled. A butterfly is an example of something becoming recycled. It was a caterpillar, then it was a cocoon, then it was a butterfly. It's being recycled in the same life, and we call these phases or changes. But the same can be said for a kid who is now 35, but is still a child. How can a child be 35? Because this 35-year-old kid has a mother. It's not the early stage development of this child when he's in K to third grade. No, he's not 6. He's 35, but he's still somebody's child. This is what I want us to be able to understand. We got the Ace of Wands here. This is dynamic, active brain usage. Dynamic, active brain usage. A lot of people know this as critical thinking, but because they've learned what critical thinking was in a single regard or maybe two, you're limiting yourself. So I have to inject some weird sounding things to you, but it will force your brain to accept what you have, and it won't allow you to add on top. So you have to use the bare bones. Why is that important? Well, in life, when you have the bare bones or the minimum, when you don't have much to use, you have to become what is called resourceful. The page of wands fell out, or excuse me, the page of swords fell out in reverse. And so for me, I don't take reversals come in all shapes and sizes, man. Just like upright cards. It depends on the environment. This is like a stem cell. A stem cell is a blank cell, but if I put it in your leg, it becomes part of your leg. If I put it in your liver, it becomes part of your liver. And then there's some stem cells called that can become anything at any time. These are fetal stem cells. And so when a baby is becoming anything, when they say you can be all you can be anything that you think you can be, yeah, that comes from the fetal cells. But then that helps us regenerate things in other people. They contain properties that the youthful energy only possess versus the wise. But likewise, there are energies that the wise, old, adult, mature cells have that the premature or the fetal stem cells have no concept of. Again, this is the energy of what we're stepping into. This shows me that we're moving into a higher level of more mature communication, which is being met with immature communication. In other words, got people talking shit, bro, and you hit them with some simple logic, and it's so simple that they can't grasp it. It's because they don't have the physical experience with the terms, so they don't understand it outside of theory. A lot of people are theorists. Many people talk, they think, and they speak upon the things that they discuss. It's people talking. So for me, talking is kind of frustrating, especially when I was a kid, when nobody would speak in a manner that was conducive to the progression of conversation. And when I would ask a question, I would be considered stupid for asking something like that, when eventually it grew into stage 6 and niggas is stuck on level 5, but I'm the dummy. These are the issues that are popping up right now. For me, they've been displaying themselves with conversations online about transfer portals and whether players can do it or not. But for me, my stance is always everyone can make a choice, so why are you mad? That is my position, but most people don't see that. They want to argue because they're mad. I'm not mad, so I don't need to argue for one way. I can circumvent. And so when I bring something that an angry brain can't process in a situation, like talking about economics and branding when we're dealing with football, the idiot person would say, marketing and promotion has nothing to do with this football. But an intelligent, mature person would say, well, this football has a brand image. Tennessee Volunteers is not the same as the Alabama Crimson Tide. They literally have different names. They literally have different colors. Oh, and if you don't believe me, they're in 2 different states. It's all differences. So how do we know what the fuck Alabama is, and how do we know what Tennessee is if I live in California? These brands are being marketed across television stations. ESPN, CBS, Fox, all of those brands host other brands, and they're marketing brands and they're promoting brands to people. So people in California can now know what Alabama is all about. Do they get all the details? No. But do they have brand awareness? Yes. Or can they follow that brand awareness over time? Yes. Can people become fans of this followed brand over time? Yes. Oh, and let's get more logical. Can people move from Alabama to California? Yes. So again, for me, I think it's quite obvious that there are things that are going to shift and change always in the planet. I'm 35. When I was 5, I was not living this life. But when I was 5, I was doing the same things that I'm doing now as I was then. Talking and yapping. That's what the fuck I do. Guess what? Doing it since I was 5, doing it at 35. Guess what? Only thing that has changed was the maturity of what I speak about. And that's it. But what happens when people stop growing? What happens when people stop changing? What happens when people refuse to go into the hangman and think? Well, you get what? You get collaborations, bro, and those who are wise. This is scrutiny. This is the idea of isolation. This is the idea of, I don't like what they're saying. Let's get together and fuck them up. This is the idea of, they're going against us. We got to figure out a way to go against them and destroy all of that. What happens when you stand up against what is common is you become signified and people want to terminate your differences. But what they don't get, in order to terminate a difference, again, let me speak math. In order to get rid of a subtraction, what do? In order to get rid of a negative, you got to do multiple things now. So what this comes down to is the valuation of what you understand. It is you who must understand. It is you who must understand you. So that means, how do you talk to yourself? How do the angry you talk to you versus the happy part of you? How do those two different states of who you are speak to you? But then, what if I'm mad as fuck? But what if I'm just getting frustrated with you? And then what if man, you're irritated? Those are 3 clear different levels. Do you know how you communicate to yourself when you are just getting mildly annoyed versus when you're fucking Those are 2 different energies, 2 different people, 2 different means of communications, one you. So, when people come to collaboration to end you, you must end the collaboration that's seeking to end you first. In other words, if you can't have a voice in your head saying, bro, you probably shouldn't go smack that motherfucking girl's ass right now. Like, there's reasons as to why you shouldn't do that, right? If you can't reason with yourself, jail in that case, right? Going to court, lawsuits. There's things that can happen. Hey, I don't think that we should get ourselves involved with that couple and their argument. And now she's dead, right? So guess what? The part of you that said no, it might feel bad. But the part of you that said yeah, it might feel bad too. There has to be a higher version of you saying, why didn't she call the cops? Why did it take this long? You have to question it because you don't have a dog in this fight. The people who got a dog in their fight, her parents, his parents, her friends, his friends, they're going to take sides. Whether it's for or against the man or for or against the woman. They're going to take sides. The judge has to say, well, fuck both of y'all, but I agree with both of y'all. The judge has to have 2 different folds twice now. For the defendant and for the prosecution. For the victim and for the murderer, we say. You, as the judge, must kill all the noise because you realize that this side wants to be on that side and that side wants to be on this side. And because of that, you have to say, there are no sides anymore. We're a circle. There are nothing but curved edges. There's no sides here. There's just one side, and we are all at different degrees of this one side. That is how we have to understand the holistic aspects of the communications of the world and how they present themselves to us. They're always going to be immature until you take the time to mature them. How can we mature this energy? Again, isolation is how you do it. Taking new opportunities or problems in the life as they arise to make a change. But how do we mature these energies? How do we mature the communications that we're met with? You bring balance. And I don't know if y'all see this. Look at how that shit went perfect over this 10. So you give and take now is what this is saying. You don't just sit here and allow somebody to talk some crazy shit to you. You allow them to speak on it. And if you want to get buck, you get buck, but with direction, with strategy, with pinpointed accuracy. And you don't now consider the value that one places on your statement. You consider the value that you place upon the statement, and you need something else. You need, again, the Empress, it will birth something, goes from inside of her to outside of her, still has to grow. So is it one line inside the mama versus outside the mama, or is it two different positions of change? Well, this is the idea of balancing the scale. When you balance that scale, it's going to allow you to balance the potential of the destruction of your own mind. But in that destruction of balancing chaos and harmony, it allows you to negotiate with the things that are mature versus not. For me. So, if a little kid comes up to you and has the dumbest question in the world, but I love this kid, and this kid never fucking talks, I'm gonna value that situation even though I'm disregarding everyone else, and I'm choosing it in the conversations with all other students, and I'm gonna now negotiate and focus on this one kid because I value what they presented. One sentence or one question out of 3 weeks, hell yeah, let's talk. Again, that is us birthing situations of maturity for us to create a means of cultivating maturity. I now have a boat. I created a bedroom. I got a baby crib for my baby. But I plan to have it because I received the information and I knew the information was small and immature, so I balanced it in order to make it grow into a situation that was negotiable for all of me. Now I can birth it into a new scenery. Let's get a final message here. All communication, bro. We got 3 different swords cards and 2 pentacles cards. We're grounding new means of communication. And the communication that's being grounded is coming from the subconscious mind. So again, if you don't practice this, then you won't do this. So I did a little research project just because I was thinking too fucking much. So I did a little research project. I'm gonna put the PDF on, and the PDF, the hypothesis question was describing a traumatized brain. And so I was looking at the neurological pathways of the brain and how it inhibits or it projects different energies across different brains areas as you're being triggered by traumatic events. But the idea of something being traumatic varies from person to person, and then outside of that independent variable, there's an interdependent variable upon the practice brain of handling stress and triggers. So yes, if I have a dog as the stimuli, then somebody might not be afraid of dogs whatsoever, and they will approach a vicious dog with no problem versus a kind dog, no problem. It's consistent over here. But then if we get to the traumatized brain, this person here got bit by a little dog by accident. The little dog was just a puppy too, but because the little kid got bit by a little dog, the kid has always been traumatized and afraid of dogs their whole adult life, and they avoid them. Versus a little kid who gets viciously attacked by a bigger dog, not just little baby nips, but then that dog person loves dogs still. It just got put into a situation where the dog was dangerous or whatever happened, and now that kid, because he still loves dog, practices how to handle the stimuli when dealing with dogs. So guess what? One person has trauma, but they practice that distribution of the energy being directed into the fight or flight mode. They can redistribute that energy a lot better than the person who can't, and a lot better than the person who doesn't get triggered at all. But the key point in the research that I was doing was that the localized global rate at which the brain is cutting off centers and cutting on centers, it happens at a flux rate in inverse proportions to the triggers that you actually have and the stimuli based upon how long it takes for one brain system to shut down and one brain system to activate higher. So as one is decreasing, the other one is increasing, and this happens at different rates for people, but it always happened at the same inverse rate for everybody when you practice or don't. Man, that shit took about 2 hours because all I did was just use ChatGPT, and because I used certain means of applying logics, again, it's how I talk to the computer. It forces the computer to analyze, and when the computer analyzes, it now uses its immense library of information to compile understandings, provide evidence of my hypotheses, and then lead us to conclusions. And so, of the research, I can pull it up right here. Of the research, man, there is about 5 different fucking, here it is. There's like 4 or 5 different groundbreaking things that we got going on here, compared to about 2 things that has already been provided. So, I said, provide a summary of this entire chat, our findings, whether this is a previously established outcome, or are we on to something groundbreaking? And then let's read. It says what? Let me get us music going. It says what? Summary findings: neurobiological, diet disparity, and stress modulation. Okay, neurosympathetic pathways and trauma. We began by mapping stress, okay, and we went down and we saw how it actually works, and then we're looking at the key components of what causes this stress thing to cut on or the stress thing to cut off, right? And then we found that it was inversely proportional. So as the threat reactivity increases, rational processes decreases, which is a redirection of metabolic resources towards survival functions. What that is starting to allude to is that even if I'm a person who don't get triggered by the dog, if I eat certain foods, it might make me more stressed out about the dog barking. Crazy. And so even if I now am not even triggered, our food intake will create scenarios where we will become in a more stressful state without even knowing that this thing is stressful. That's crazy. The food is making us respond that way. But then we go further. I go further. Sorry. I go further and I say, okay, somebody liking my comment. Nutrition, environment, mindset, physical state, substances, and rituals are things that we can use to modulate our neurological spaces. In other words, how we react to things, how fast we react, and what causes us to respond. That synaptic cleft, that range, that lubrication of space, that can be changed through these things here. And so what we're looking at changing is how fast can you slow down, how fast can you speed up, and how quickly does these things happen across the whole brain. If this school got shut down and the school was from here to here, how fast can the whole school get shut down? Lock it down. It's probably going to go from a little bit, 10% of the school is open, to 90% of it, or excuse me, 10% is closed, 90% is open. Then it's going to switch. Now it's going to be 90% is open, or excuse me, closed, and then 10% is open. It just shifts. Your battery starts off at 100 on your phone, and then it shrinks down to 0, but your battery is part of a secondary battery, and this is what we call the internal and external. This is why when your phone dies, it can still charge. The alternating current in there allows for this, but it's because it's two things. But because you're two things, and because you're communicating with yourself and about yourself, to yourself and to others, you got to account for this dual aspect. Which brings us to threats. The threat appraisal integration. This is how one perceives the threat of a trauma. So if you have lower threat sensitivity, you can do activities to help with that. You can increase internal tension, which is the ability to get yourself going so you can get the fuck going. That flight aspect, that is done with internal tension. You gotta be able to squeeze so that shit can move. And then what this says is that by practicing, you can redistribute that energy better. So instead of the south side of the school going up to the north side of the school and everything is going to cut off or be shut down in that same method, this is called randomization. So all the buildings over here might shut down and there might be no rhyme or reason to it, but overall, the school got shut down quicker. So the system got us safer, but it was not as linearly progressive as one would think. So just because you don't like the dog, that might not be the linear aspect or outcome to the trigger. So when we're living life and we're actually going about our days and changing, we gotta realize that us practicing certain things, even practicing diets, these things are influencing your ability to not only handle stress, it is also dealing with your ability to redistribute stressors when you are calm. So we are introducing the calm aspect in addition to the redistribution. So it's a pair, it's twins. Again, this is now shown by this. The twins of practicing versus not practicing. This is beautiful because when you practice shit, you are doing things to help things stop and start. When you're not practicing, you're only allowing things to stop or slow down. So no practice equals all shutdown. Some practice means improvement overall. Guess what? You still will have things go down. But if you seek to optimize your practice on a daily, let's say, or on a consistency, let's say, then you can start to realize that these things will have impacts indirectly. This is shown by this superimposed curve model. This curve model that I designed, it's showing that this is the redistribution of energies as they cut on and cut off in the brain, but nothing is cutting off completely. It's cutting one light switch off, but realizing that that off cuts another on. It's paired. So what this so here it is. Here's our final. Our final shit comes in like this. So our discovery established or groundbreaking? So again, this is about 2 hours of just conversation and questioning, typing and shit. It says it's known that stress affects brain body function. So boom, I'm not on no woohoo willy-nilly shit, even though I did come indirectly. Why are you talking about this? It makes no sense. This is not relevant, but it is. It's relevant to establish a foundation so we can see the potential. Again, this is how a coach can look at a kid and say he has potential. How a teacher can look at a student and say they have potential. How a boss can look at an employee and say they have potential. This is what we're doing when we're establishing foundationals, but you'll see when we break this ground. So it says diet, exercise, mindfulness are documented modulators. We know that it works. Disparities in healthcare have been heavily studied and how those outcomes influence people. This shit is known. So again, even though you might know it, I know it, and I just so happen to know how to talk to the computer, which knows everything too, so I can modulate my own chaos into a linear proportion of logic. Then you can start to see how that logic cycles over time, and then we can see what we call progression. And this is what happens with the groundbreaking. Look, I got 4 groundbreaking things to some fucking 101 class bullshit. You can Google search this and you can find out this is known. But this shit over here is not. So a superimposed combo model merging neuroenergetic redistribution, diet practice levels, and perceived threats is not existing in literature. This motherfucker computer can literally find anything. And it has not found this. So nobody has thought to put these 4 things together when everybody fucking knows these things go together. Ha! Am I dumb or am I smart enough to see it? Again, am I immature because I'm talking about things that everybody already know is established? Or am I the one resting on the fact that I know that people are talking about it, but they're not using it? So I can mature it, and with rest comes growth. And guess what? It comes with the balance of things that are meant to destroy. But because I have enough collaboration with myself, this already happened. I've already built upon this. So now when I present it, it's balanced, but it's balanced in ratios. So that means some people might understand 2% of what I say, and 98% of what I say they have no idea about, whereas other people might be 100 and 0. I 100% get you. I'm not confused. Some people will be like, it's 50-50. This energy that we're bringing is to show you that what I do is practice as a part of my lifestyle. And this lifestyle is the spiritual practice of seeing, visualizing, observing. This is how we use our world to create our lives. It is using the data that we have. So, systems integration of combos. Our exploration uniquely unifies substances, activities, and dietary nutrient pathways into a predictive model of stress modulation. In other words, if you're drinking this, you're eating that, and you're doing this, we can predict if you're going to have more stress or less stress. Nobody is doing that, but I talk that every day. And I've been telling people in the classrooms for 6 fucking years, and guess what? People don't listen. But ChatGPT has no way not to listen to me. So when I talk to the computer and the computer is saying, ain't nobody doing this, now I have to reorganize the negotiation with how I talk to myself and say, oh, it's not that people aren't talking about it, they can't see it. So literally, according to this computer, I'm the only one thinking about these 4 things in this way. So guess what? Do I deserve to get the motherfucking Nobel Prize? No! Because guess what? For me, I don't value this 2-hour conversation like that. It even goes down to the end. I just want somebody who's doing something like making medicines for fucking people, or, making surgeries and adjusting therapies for people's mind. I'd rather let them take what I've started and then build from it. Why? Because they're going to create from this creation in a way that I could never. I'm creating in a way that they could never. So I'm already doing what I need to do. I hope the same is doing with you. So here, number 3, practice brain advantage modeling. This is now for counselors and therapists. The clear distinction between practice and unpracticed stress response measured by neural time curves gives a novel framework for intervention strategies. In other words, This allows us to map out a means of operation as people develop and change. So it's hard to make people better when things are always in flux, because the medical system needs you to be the same, and you need to only change relative to the changes I'm injecting into the data. So I'll give you a specific dosage of a pill, and then that pill is supposed to help alleviate a certain ailment over time, and the time and the dosage is the key aspect to the you. Now, the time and the dose might be too much. Time and the dose might be too little, but that is the you. And because the time and the dosage won't change, we use those as constructs to measure the changes in you. I think that's backwards as fuck, considering people change. So if we're not looking at the means of how we can change the dosage, guess what? We're not looking at understanding the changes of the disease as it progresses in individuals over time. We're looking at just categorizing and standardizing and dosing. That's cool. I don't think that's a problem, but that's not going to help individuals. So how do we help an individual? Well, number 4, it says that we need to combo map across disparity data. In other words, when we know motherfuckers are different, we gotta show motherfuckers that they're different. When we know that people are different, we gotta plan for the differences, not add shit on. Difference in math means subtract, take away. So to find the difference, we need to take something away. So this layered demographic aligned model offers applicable framework for personalized, culturally aware neurobehavioral support. Actions that you can take to help you within your culture, and actions you can take to help you that are outside your culture. That is what all of this research has done. People think I'm dumb. Some people think I'm smart. But I just do shit. And I do work. And work can be shown, so it doesn't matter. So let me show you the chart, and then I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Because, again, I didn't intend on ranting like this. But when people get me, it makes me show out in another way. You know, when people try to challenge me. And I just like to show people, like, don't ever call somebody stupid when you don't understand. So this is the basic curve of the practiced brain and the unpracticed. And what you should notice is that there are 2 curved lines that look very similar, but then you got 2 more curved lines that look very similar again. These 2 on the outside and then those 2 on the inside. Those 2 things are demonstrating this balance between the curve. And that straight green line in between, that straight green line in between, the point at which they intersect, right there, those are points at which we can see optimization. Here's another chart. It's crazy. This is like a fucking master's class. This is injecting diet into it. Now, when you inject diet into the same exact thing, now what you see is you have more relatable factors, but now there are more interactions. There we go. There's more interactions across optimization. So if you look at this orange one down here, this is a single person getting stressed out. But notice, this person doesn't really get that stressed out. So why? It's because it has lower levels of all of these different means of modulation. And so because as this person is being heightened or triggered, but it has to be filtered through all of these module regulators, it has to be filtered, it doesn't reach a peak of threat. So yeah, I got a pack of wild dogs running at me, but I'm going to stand my ground because I'm not food, I ain't running, and if I kill one, they all probably might fucking run away. So logically, I'm not going to be triggered. But again, that is not everybody. So we can look over here and look at the most triggered person. The green. You see that green at the top? But again, it has a huge difference between the integrations. So this person that's super stressed probably eats food to keep them stressed too. It has less interactive crossing points right here. It has less. So again, it's not nice like this orange one where they're spread out and evenly spaced. No, this person binges alcohol and tobacco, and now they can't unstress themselves. So again, I know this is a tarot reading. I know this is tarot cards. But the purpose of me doing this is to show you that tarot is explaining life. And when you don't have an understanding of life, you will stay in a loop. You'll be so far in the loop that you might start calling people stupid for knowing shit that you had no idea about. So, this song is called Illusions. Please do not make illusions in your life reality. Do not allow the illusions of life to become real. They're illusions because life is an illusion. So, with that being said, let's get a final message. Sorry for all that neuro jazz, but again, people say meditate, people say do this, people say do that, but I'm showing you why. Why would a person tell you, here's the scientific backing, but I'm telling you more. The spiritual understanding is to take that shit and make it happen everywhere, on all levels, at all dimensions, and in all spaces. But if you don't know what a dimension is, or a space is, or the relativity behind the frequency of both, like if you don't know the science in the real life, you won't know the spiritual life. The spiritual life is inside of the reality as something new. The baby inside the woman is outside the woman as a baby anew. Mr. Renew. What's our final message? We got a few on this final message. So, Tower moments for most of us. Subconscious mind has the answers, but your intuition already says that I'm true. Your intuition knows this. I always tell everybody that you already know this shit. I'm trying to help you remember. That's the whole point of my fucking book called Remember Your Spark, niggas. You gotta remember that shit because your spark is going to die. So the next book is called Re-Spark Your Spark, my niggas. I'm trying to help you understand that when you grow up, you're gonna get knocked the fuck down. So here's how you stand the fuck up and keep going. This is how you do this shit. So, trust and know that you have the ability to notice the towers, but trust and know that you have the ability to bring the towers down. And when you do that, you gotta realize if they're coming from the subconscious, and if they are, you gotta understand, how does that make you the star? How does that make you great? How does that make you loving? And how does that get you stuck from the thoughts that keep you stuck? How do you stay stuck away from the things that keep you stuck? How do you destroy the idea of you even doing that? I'm stuck over here not doing it. So I'm stuck over here not doing this. I'm saying it that way so you can understand that if I'm stuck, that can be good or bad. If I'm stressed, that can be good or bad. But none of this shit is going to be without one another. Never. It never will be without one another. So you have to understand that you are always all things. And when you are, some things have to fall. You can't keep being 6 years old if you're 36. So, guess what? What part of me can be 36 and which part of me can still be 6? Which parts of me can be immature and which parts of me needs to mature up? That is what this energy right now is all about. But it's about following your intuition upon the things that are falling so you can see yourself build back up. All right, people. That was a good ass one right there, especially going on and showing that evidence. come fuck with me. I'm telling you, if you want to join in on one of our webinars, we almost got that stuff set up to where you guys can join in. We're gonna have right now it's scheduled for 4 webinars a month, so 1 a week. I gotta figure out the dates and I gotta figure out everything, but it'll be the same or similar topics from month to month. But this is like free game. I know tarot is free. I rap for free. I do a lot of that shit for free, and I even lecture for free. I want to do that for free. I want to work with you one-on-one, man, so we can solve your problems. I mean, and if we could do it for free, that would be great. But in order for me to do this for free for the world, we got to put in some investments. So we got to invest in ourselves so we can invest in others who can't invest in themselves just yet. Following your intuition on doing things that might seem literally opposite to what you need to do might just be the need of you to go from here immature to you mature. And this isn't you growing up and becoming 65 years old in a night. This is the 6-year-old kid saying why into how. So, go figure out how you can do it. I think you can. And if you can't figure it out, holla at your boy. I want you to do independent study first. Check out the books, man. They're cheap. Damn near free. Some of them are free. So get that shit. Use that shit. Grow your mind. Grow your time on this planet. Grow the life that you're living. Grow the soul that you are. Alright, I'm Mr. Banu. I appreciate y'all for being here. Peace.